All right, so it is third week of January, and I had these goals that I'm going to do a handful of triathlons around the area, really get to know the area, get more involved with the community. And I used to do triathlons. I did this Half Ironman a couple years ago, and since then I haven't really done much else. I just kind of focus more on strength, rebuilding that strength after the training involved with a Half Ironman. But about 2 to 3 weeks into this year, with a goal of trying to get back into triathlons and half marathons and just running races, an injury that came up when I did my Half Ironman has come up and has caused so much pain in my lower back and my hips that I cannot keep pursuing this goal. So pretty much all of my aesthetic, physical, whatever goal that would fall under, I have to ditch 2 to 3 weeks in. And the thing with goals and ditching goals, many times, I would say this probably 99% of the time, this is a good reason. Like, an injury is a good reason to not pursue that goal. But it still has me thinking about why the goal didn't work out. And the reasoning that I have is because it wasn't a good goal. And I think most goals that we make, they're not good goals. If they were better goals, we wouldn't come up with that excuse each time. And I think people tend to make goals in two different ways. The one goal is, I'm already good at this thing. Let me do more of this thing. It kind of reinforces an identity. And those are okay goals, but those are never like transformative goals. I think a better goal is something that confronts that excuse. If there is an excuse that keeps coming up, what's a goal that you can create to help change that character trait, that physical attribute, that helps you become that guy that you want to become? And I think that's really why we create so many of these goals, is in our mind, we want to be that guy who does those things. And if I'm able to achieve that goal and be that guy who can do those things, I'll have more respect, admiration. I'll live a more purpose-filled life. There's all these attributes we associate to the person who achieves that goal. I know this is definitely something that we talk to most of the clients who come in. They say they want the same thing. I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to lose 30 pounds, 100 pounds, whatever it is. I want to get a six-pack. I want more muscle. Along that same line of like desire for a change in my physical stature. And the conversation every single time is, this has nothing to do with the physical stature. This always has to do with, if I'm able to achieve that, I'll feel this way. I'll feel more respected. I'll feel more purpose-filled. I'll feel admired by others, maybe my significant other, maybe other people at work, or to myself in the mirror. I will feel more of the man that I feel like I should become. I think that's why we create goals. But I think the disconnect is, I create a certain goal, but it doesn't really focus on the excuse, that through line that keeps me from achieving that goal. I think goals have a way of changing us and helping us realize that we are the person that we want to be, or that we say that we are. Like I said, I did a Half Ironman a few years ago, And the whole idea behind doing that goal was, this is 2 to 3 times longer of a race than I've ever even tried to accomplish. And usually, even when I set up my workout plans, they're in 4, 6, sometimes 12-week blocks. I'm not training for an entire year for one race. And in a way, it was a question to myself, can I accomplish this? And what makes the actual achievement of that goal so much more interesting and powerful for me was, not only did I show up to the race, but the race went terrible. During the swim, I had to side stroke for probably 20% of it, because I was just so overwhelmed that I couldn't breathe. And obviously with swimming, you need to breathe. I did the bike portion on mile 18. I got a flat tire in my back tire. I had to ride that flat through it. I know Florida doesn't seem hilly, but it seemed really hilly that day. For 18 miles, I had to ride on a flat. For the run portion, throughout my training, everything was going really well, but about 6 to 9 months in, I started to get this pain in my hip that had to do with actual pain in my lower back. And as soon as I started off on the run, I ran the first mile, and that pain just came right back. And I had to walk. Out of the 13 miles in a half Ironman, I had to walk 10 of them. And the whole time just thinking, I gotta finish. And that works for a little while, and then I gotta prove to other people that I'm gonna finish. I told other people I was gonna do this. And then that only works for a little while. And then I settled into, I gotta prove to myself that I'm gonna do this. And I carried that through the swim portion, the bike portion with the flat tire, the walk. I remember crossing the finish line and seeing my wife and just crying a little bit, probably a lot of it. Not a sobbing, but I felt proud that I stuck with it throughout all the pain and just how horrible the race went for me. I proved to myself that I am that person, something I never thought I would do. If you would have told me months earlier, it's gonna go this bad, I would have just said, then I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna push the race until I'm actually ready. And that would have made sense. That's a valid excuse. But I pushed through, and I pushed through that excuse. And I proved to myself that I was that person that can do those hard things for that long period of time. And I think that's the goal. When we make goals, is I want to prove something to myself. And I think the error that we tend to have when making goals is we don't look at the excuse. We're not looking at that character development that helps us get that respect, get that admiration, get that purpose. Because in the back of our mind, those are really the things that are dictating our moves, our goals, our decisions in life. Is I want these things: respect, love, connection, purpose, admiration. I want those things, but I feel stress and resistance. And sometimes the stress and resistance wins. And if I can push through that stress and resistance and still achieve that goal, then I prove to myself that I am that man who gets that respect and admiration. And I think that's really why we need to make goals differently, create our goals differently. I think we need to look more at our excuses, take a step back. What is the excuse that keeps coming up? I look at my goal now. Like I said, it's 3-4 weeks into January. I've had to completely ditch my race calendar. And I start using our app, which says, these are the workouts you need to do. And it's like bird dogs. It's weighted carries, no heavy lifting. The things that I like doing, it says you can't do any of that. Things I don't like doing, it says that's the only thing you should be doing. And you need to do this consistently. And what's interesting is it's the small, boring stuff that I have to do now to create a better foundation, to help me be a better athlete 6-9 months from now. And I take a step back. I look at that through line of career, business, relationships. I can do the big gestures, the big projects. But that small, boring stuff, I'll always say to myself, I don't need to do that. I can do these bigger things that have a bigger impact. And I look at the areas where I haven't been successful in relationships, in my career, in the business that we're creating. It's always the small, boring stuff that I always have a good excuse for. And if I'm actually looking at the character growth that I feel like I should have, I want to have in life, it's going to require that I do the small, boring stuff. The bird dogs of life. That's so corny. But it is. The small, boring stuff. And I think that's the perspective shift that we should all be making when we look at our goals and creating goals. Because I'll scroll through social media. We all do. That's a good idea. That's a goal that I should have. But what is it going to require of you? And I started thinking about how to do this well, because even though we have an app, you can message me on the app. We brainstorm how to do this well. Not everyone's going to do that, and that's okay. But if I go into something like a ChatGPT, I want to be the man who's this. Let's just brainstorm and come up with a list of things that will help me achieve the respect, the purpose, all the things that I want out of life. And there's going to be a handful of things in there that are probably a little bit scary, a little bit uncomfortable. Those are the things that probably should be on your list. Like for me, doing the bird dogs, that sounds like the most boring workouts. But I also see 6 to 9 months from now, I'm going to be so much stronger because I'm doing this now. It's the boring stuff. It's the uncomfortable stuff, the scary stuff. When you're looking at that list, the things that look like I can incorporate that. Maybe have some of those to help you feel like you're making progress. But make sure that you have the scary stuff, the uncomfortable stuff. I think those are the things that are going to make you proud. That's probably a good way to end this. So yeah.